India has said it will wait for the fine print of a proposed U.S. executive order before assessing the impact of fresh tariffs announced by President Donald Trump on countries doing business with Iran. New Delhi clarified that its trade with Tehran is limited and largely humanitarian in nature. Now, this comes after President Trump said that any country doing business with Iran would face a 25% tariff on all trade with the United States with immediate effect. Commerce Secretary Rajesh Agarwal said that India's exports to Iran mainly involve humanitarian goods and services, and that the government is closely examining the announcement while awaiting the official executive order. Now, backing this position, the Federation of Indian Export Organizations said Indian companies and banks are fully compliant with U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctions. It said trade with Iran is restricted to permitted categories, primarily food items and pharmaceuticals. Now, the backdrop to this is already fragile trade ties. Remember, U.S. sanctions imposed in 2018 had sharply reduced India-Iran trade. In the year 24-25, bilateral trade stood at just $1.68 billion, with Indian exports accounting for $1.24 billion, mostly from the agriculture sector. India's exports to Iran make up just 0.28% of its total global shipments. Key exports include cereals, tea and coffee, spices, fruits and vegetables, animal fodder and medicines. Imports from Iran mainly include dry fruits, chemicals and glassware. Now, the announcement has raised concerns among exporters who are already under pressure from steep U.S. tariffs imposed last year. Now, beyond trade, India and Iran share strategic interests, particularly in the Chabahar port project, seen as critical for regional connectivity. And staying with tensions in West Asia, as protests continue to escalate in Iran, India moves to evacuate its citizens from that country. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs is making all arrangements to facilitate the return of Indian nationals who wish to travel back home. The first evacuation flight is scheduled to depart from Tehran to New Delhi today. The Indian government issued an urgent advisory earlier asking all citizens in Iran, including students, pilgrims, business people and tourists, to leave immediately, citing rising violence and instability across the country. The MEA has urged all Indians to stay in touch with the embassy and ensure travel documents are ready. 4 emergency helplines have been activated as well to assist citizens. The advisory also noted that due to an ongoing internet shutdown in Iran, registration with the embassy has been slow. Families can now register their relatives through the MEA's online portal. The unrest in Iran, now in its 3rd week, began over economic hardships following the collapse of the national currency. Protests have since escalated into a broader challenge to the country's theocratic leadership, raising concerns about public safety.
के खुल के बोल नहीं रहे हैं। अब वो कहते हैं, सोचते होंगे कि पेरेंट्स जो है ये मत क्या कहते हैं घबरा जाएं, तो इसलिए हालात ठीक नहीं है।
बहुत समस्या है वहाँ पे, ये किसी से छुपा नहीं है। तेहरान में बहुत हालात खराब है, उनके पास खाने पीने को कुछ नहीं है, शट डाउन है, इंटरनेट शट डाउन है, फैमिली भी क्या कर सकती है। तो अब हम रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं इंडिया गवर्नमेंट से एंड प्लस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से, एज सून एज हमारे बच्चों को आप लिफ्ट करवा दीजिए।
पिछली दफ़ा जिस तरह गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने, एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर ने खुद पेन्स लेकर बच्चों को, पिलग्रिम्स को, बिजनेसमैन्स को इवैक्यूएट कराया था वहाँ से, मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है इस बार भी दे आर फुली कैपेबल ऑफ डूइंग दैट। इस बार भी वो हमारी हेल्प कर लेंगे।
वैसे ही बुलाया, उन्होंने कहा कि आप अपने ओन यहाँ से लीव कर दो, ईरान को छोड़ दो। हमने उनको कहा हमारे पास ना पैसा है, ना इंटरनेट चलता है, 1 रुपये की चीज़ 10 की मिलती है, हम कहाँ जाएंगे। तो उन्होंने कहा है कि एम्बेसी ने कि हम अभी कोई मदद नहीं कर सके जब को हम हाई अप से ऑर्डर नहीं आएगा।
While the White House says all options remain on the table when it comes to possible U.S. military action against Iran, warning of grave consequences if the killing of anti-government protesters continues. Now, speaking at a news briefing on Thursday, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said President Donald Trump and his team have conveyed a clear message to Tehran that continued violence would trigger a strong response. The remarks came just hours after Trump appeared to strike a slightly softer tone on Iran following several days of sharp warnings, even as he reiterated that military action remains an option if further killings are reported.
What I will say with respect to Iran is that the president and his team have communicated to the Iranian regime that if the killing continues, there will be grave consequences. And the president received a message, as he revealed to all of you and the whole world yesterday, that the killing and the executions will stop. And the president understands today that 800 executions that were scheduled and supposed to take place yesterday were halted. And so the president and his team are closely monitoring this situation, and all options remain on the table for the president.
And after Iran, the government of India has warned citizens to also avoid non-essential travel to Israel. The advisory has been issued by the Ministry of External Affairs amid tensions in West Asia. India has issued an advisory for Indian nationals in Israel, advising them to remain vigilant and strictly adhere to the safety guidelines. The advisory comes as Iran is in the middle of the widespread protests, with the US not ruling out interference and military action in the country. Meanwhile, Iran has warned that US military bases in the region will be legitimate target of Iranian strikes in case America attacks. Now, amid the heightened tensions, there have also been concerns in Tel Aviv, an arch rival of Tehran in the region. Meanwhile, several areas in southern and central Israel have ordered the opening of public shelters amid heightened regional tensions, according to local media reports.